The reason that 95% of LinkedIn users are not massively growing and getting clients is because they're not taking advantage of these 7 easy hacks that made me $3.2 million and will work for you too. Real quick, before the first one, we need to understand the huge recent algorithm change that was mentioned by LinkedIn in a press release that is reshaping the platform in 2024. And what they did is they made the platform very different to YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. When you make a post or a video on YouTube or a video on Instagram, it can be pushed across the whole platform if it's deemed to be viral. So that's why it's really, really easy to grow from zero with a little bit of practice on those platforms. Whereas LinkedIn, what they've changed is they've changed it so it's harder and harder and harder to push any type of content outside of your first degree network. That is to say, one of the worst things you can do if you're just getting going or you're starting to grow on the platform and you don't have many followers is just post on your platform. What's the first hack you need to do? Well, let's take a scenario. Let's imagine, with that in mind, that person 1 has 500,000 followers and person 2 has 100,000 followers. Person 2, 100,000 followers, when they make a post, a lot of first degree connections are going to see that post and comment and engage with it. Same with person 1, 500,000 followers. A lot of people are going to engage with that content and engage with that post because LinkedIn shows it to all those people. So what you can do, hack number 1, is instead of thinking about posting as just posting on your individual profile, start thinking about posting as also commenting on specific influencers' posts. Now there's a bit of nuance to this because you don't want to just do the big ones like the 100,000 and the 200,000 and the 500,000 followers. That's one group you should certainly do. But the second group you can do is we can also recognize a trend in the industry and a trend in business in general. A lot of CEOs and founders and even people looking for employment are starting to notice that a personal brand is valuable. What's a personal brand? A personal brand is what people say about you when you're not there. And what people say about you when you're not there can be shaped by the content that you put on LinkedIn. So if you find somebody with a sweet spot between 1,000 and 5,000 followers and start engaging and commenting on their posts, you can do really, really, really well because they'll see it, they'll be grateful for it, they'll notice you, and it naturally leads to conversations, leads, and clients. There's 2 things I like to do. The first thing I like to do is when I comment is I like to give advice as if they're a client. That's one thing to do. The second thing I like to do is I like to do motivational stuff because LinkedIn, again, is different to all the other platforms. People, if they've got their managers, their bosses, their peers on there, and a lot of information, personal information, they're not anonymous like other platforms. They don't like to engage so much with the real controversial stuff. So that tends to work really, really well. Everyone gets on board, claps a lot, and play the game, right? So that's number 1. Number 2 is a big one. It's important to have a positioning statement on LinkedIn. Anybody in 2024 that doesn't have a positioning statement that reflects something different in the marketplace is going to struggle. What's a positioning statement? Well, a lot of people think that on LinkedIn, in their headline, they have to write about what they do. But really, they have to write what they can do for other people. But it doesn't help them because what is the one thing that is visible? Well, there's actually 2 things. What are 2 things that are visible no matter where you're on the LinkedIn platform? The first is your LinkedIn positioning statement, otherwise known as a headline. The second thing is your profile image. And what a lot of people don't do is they don't take advantage of being seen around the platform and having their positioning statement optimized. All they say is, I'm a coach, I'm a consultant, this is what I do, not what they can do for them. So work on that. It's very, very simple. I help, name, market, to solve problem. That's simple. And the one thing you need to add on to those 3 elements in 2024 is a statement of authority. At the beginning of the positioning statement, how many years you've been doing it? 30 years, 23 years. If you've done something significant of note, like exited a business, make sure that's at the beginning and you will be good. Number 3. Airbnb, the apartment rental company, they grew to be worth billions and they grew very quickly. What we don't know is how they grew and what they did that not a lot of people know on the platform. And you can apply this on LinkedIn. So what Airbnb did is that when they were getting going, they had an addressable market of over 300 million people in the United States. Why did they have an addressable market of 300 million people? It's simply because they could, in theory, help anybody that owned a property or occupied a property, but with limited resources, limited time, limited capability, in a skeleton crew startup, they were smarter than that. instead of searching for people based on demographic data like where they live and occupying a property, they looked on psychographic behavior. They looked at behaviors and looked to target people who are exhibiting behaviors consistent with needing their products or service. And what that meant for Airbnb is that they targeted people on Craigslist already with a vacation property for rental. And what you want to do on LinkedIn is you want to use apps like Taplio, and there's another one called Authored Up, and Supergrow, and you want to use their search features and the ability to build lists in there to target people talking about certain topics. You could do this for events, LinkedIn events, you can do it for audio events, you can do it through posts, and there's a whole myriad of ways to do it now. All right, number 4, not using templates. There are templates that work for your content on LinkedIn, and if you're not being perceived as an expert, if you're not being taken seriously and you're writing all these good stories and you're listening to all the lessons and you've got lots of experience that you want to share with the world and it's not working, you need to take all that experience and put it into a template. I used to be a big cynic of these. These templates absolutely work. I've used them on my profile. If you were to scroll through my profile, you would see me use the same, if you were able to spot the patterns, the same template 3 or 4 or 5 times. All right, next one, not repurposing. If you're spending all this time to create all this content and you're putting all the effort into manipulating the algorithm, just repurpose, use the same post, wait 3 months, post the same post, maybe change a word here, a word there, improve it, but you can absolutely change the same post and you can wait 6 weeks, as short as 6 weeks I've done it to do that. All right, number 6, take advantage of LinkedIn Lives. LinkedIn Lives have been massive for me in building the business, because what LinkedIn Lives do, and it's a quirk in the algorithm, is they send a notification into the LinkedIn feed that you are live, and it's just like a free tag. You're like tagging everybody, almost everybody, and you can quickly get your eyes on it. And we've been able to build a community on LinkedIn and get a lot of people watching our lives just by doing lives 2 or 3 times a week, and the same people show up and do it. Not collecting the most important bit of information that you can from LinkedIn. And this is what small LinkedIn users on LinkedIn with not many followers do better than big LinkedIn influencers to make a lot of money, because a lot of LinkedIn influencers, they don't actually have a mechanism to make money. They have a mechanism to harness attention, but taking that attention and turning it to money is a different skill set altogether. And what the small LinkedIn profiles know is that if they collect emails off LinkedIn and move the emails onto a list they own, then they're going to be able to grow the business. Because I can't think of a problem that having a big audience does not solve. A big audience of people that respect you, know you, and are the right fit for your product and service, not just anyone on the planet. How do you build that audience? You collect emails on LinkedIn. On the link below the profile, they've changed that, and you can collect it in other places, and you harness their attention. Number 7, maintain a consistent posting schedule. If you're not consistent, you're going to struggle to grow. And here's the analogy: Pete Rose. You might not have heard of Pete Rose because you might be British like me, or you just don't like baseball. But what's really interesting about Pete Rose, he's top 10 of all times for runs scored, but when it comes to home runs, he's not even in the top 350. Why? He didn't try and hit it out the park every single time, right? So be more Pete Rose, hit the runs, be consistent, maintain that schedule, and you will hack the LinkedIn algorithm and grow.